Hey everyone, MacAndSwiss here, and welcome back to the second episode of the Developers Exchange podcast, the podcast talking about development on the world's favorite metaverse, Roblox. We're going to be actually diving into the specific word that is being thrown around quite a bit, metaverse, and what it is, how Roblox's vision is shaping around it, and how you can maybe get in on that metaverse action and money. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So Roblox is changing fast. It started off as a physics simulation tool, quickly developed into a game engine, and now we're sort of seeing the third, I wouldn't necessarily say pivot, as some have said that this was sort of the original goal of Roblox for a very long time. But it does seem like they are pushing much harder on this front now than ever before. Previously, it was mostly limited to adding additional tools and things like that that might help to bring about the metaverse, but it wasn't necessarily really pushed forward as much as it is right now with some of the new technologies that we're seeing recently. So I was actually fortunate enough to attend a hiring event by Roblox, and in that they did show off quite a few interesting technologies that they've been working on and some things that they have been showing to the community recently. Now, I can't release that stuff mostly because that is confidential information and material, but I will talk a little bit about what I actually saw there. So one of the most interesting things that they showed off was facial animation. And this has been sort of coming together recently, or maybe like meshes that are textured that you apply, but they've never really been something that move versus something like the arms and legs, obviously, stuff like that when you're actually moving around. Faces have always been static on Roblox up until now. And so there isn't too much information that is out publicly yet in regards to facial animation. We did see a little bit about this before, and this is a fairly old article, to say the least, and this is a VentureBeat article. This was quite a while back. You can see May 2nd. They do show, actually, in a very, very short time frame, that they have been working on facial animations for quite a while, and it surprisingly works well. And so we've known that facial animations have been coming to Roblox for quite a while now, but what excites me is something that was briefly touched on at the hiring event, and that is real-time facial animations. So this would be something like, I imagine, Roblox having access to a webcam or the selfie camera on your phone if you are playing on mobile. It would be analyzing your face as you're playing the game and sort of displaying your face onto your avatar. I think that's a really, really interesting way to go about it. And I'm not sure if it'll be really of much use to most of the player base, although it will be a very, very interesting application of technology. I imagine that this will probably be used more for things like more realistic or real life events, things like meetings, if you happen to have them on Roblox one day. And I mean, Roblox has been experimenting with that themselves for quite a while now. There has also been concerts. I could imagine that maybe you could have that sort of technology implemented, but I feel like for the vast majority of games, this just isn't something that will be used very much. And this ties into the ultimate vision, which I heard at the event, in terms of Roblox's direction currently with the technology that they're working on, and that is photorealism. And that is a very interesting turn of events, but there was a clarification that low poly and the cartoonish style of Roblox is still within their vision of the platform. It's not like they're going to somehow say, okay, everyone's got to move over to our new systems and implement all our new technologies and things like that. From what I can hear, it feels like they want to have more of a choice on what amount of detail you want in the characters rather than swapping it all together. And they explicitly mentioned that they want to have a sort of platform where using the same account, you can be in a meeting at some point with a very realistic avatar, with a very realistic environment, voice chat, and things like that. And then with the same account, with the same character, move to some other experience and have a sort of lower poly version of yourself, a more cartoonish environment, and probably something that you would associate with Roblox right now. And I think that's a very interesting choice. And it feels to me that Roblox right now is sort of trying to break out of their original reputation, which may or may not be a good thing depending on who you're asking. Which probably explains stuff like their press kit over here, that you can see that there are obviously there's a classic sort of look of Roblox characters, albeit this one is obviously different from what we have seen in the past. It's obviously not R6, and I really feel like R6 is going to be on its way out. And I think that once Arthro has matured as a technology and is being implemented on a wide scale on Roblox, the Arthro has a pretty decent chance of being deprecated. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that R6 as a sort of design choice will be going away completely. And I could imagine that someone, if it isn't Roblox themselves, someone in the community will definitely have the tools available with Arthro to sort of recreate R6 and the sort of movement systems that we've seen with that. So I don't think that R6 as a design choice is going away necessarily, although on the Roblox side, on the corporation side, it definitely seems like it is. But the technology will probably be on its way out, but don't quote me on that. That's just sort of how I feel. But you can see from the avatar lineup that there are characters of all different shapes and sizes, and I think this is sort of the emphasis that Roblox wants to show now, and why they are actively discouraging sort of the old blocky sort of games in their promotional material, although you do still see it from time to time. That I think this is really just a big push to show people like, hey, we're maturing as a platform. We're really making a push to implement these new technologies to give the developers a choice on sort of what style they want. That Roblox has evolved from its roots as a sort of blocky, low poly game, and it is now capable of making these high detail, high poly, realistic environments, although they will not push this on developers as the sort of standard for Roblox. And I think that's an understandable situation, at least. This will probably aggravate some people who want Roblox to solely focus on the blocky side, the cartoony side, as, I mean, that has been their identity for a very long time. But it just seems like Roblox is interested in investing into this technology to make the platform capable, while not forcing developers to choose that route if they don't want to. So let's talk a little bit about getting in on this whole metaverse action then. And it's clear that Roblox has been really heavily pushing this stuff, considering the number of press releases and the things that they've been talking about publicly have been mostly centered on the big events that have been happening on Roblox. And these have been mainly the concerts and sort of things like that. We had Lil Nas X, and we had a lineup of quite a few things. Pre-launch event for a movie and things like that. They've been talking a lot about that. And I suspect that if you were to want to get Roblox's attention nowadays, it would probably be a lot easier to do so if you are leaning in on the metaverse idea. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean to have everything as high detail and realistic, though that definitely is one of the ways to get their attention. But what I feel about the metaverse is more of connecting the real world to Roblox. So I'm talking about things like concerts, real life events moving on to Roblox, maybe even day to day things like, I don't know, like online class on Roblox. I can't imagine that going well. um, or even things like meetings, business meetings. And I know that Roblox has been trying that for a while now. I don't know how successful they have been really at sort of using their own platform for meetings, but it would be interesting to sort of hear some thoughts on that. And I'd wager that if you were to use those new technologies, even if they don't work out that well, and try to make an effort to bring experiences, real world experiences, onto Roblox, I'd imagine that you would be able to capture the attention of Roblox a little bit easier than before. And I feel like there is no other place that really spells this out more explicitly than their new game fund. And if you haven't heard of that, the game fund is basically accelerator on steroids. It is an investment that starts at 500,000 US dollars. Not 500,000 Robux, 500,000 US dollars as an investment into your experience. That is nuts. That is a crazy amount of money to be putting in to any experience. But one thing that is mentioned, they will prioritize ideas in terms of pitches for the game fund and the amount of money that they pass out that have multiplayer focus, which, fair enough, that's Roblox, cross-platform with mobile optimization in mind, which is interesting because, I mean, there are more mobile players on Roblox than there are players on PC and certainly on Xbox. And I'm sorry to like the two people that play Xbox Roblox, but like, man, Roblox has really not been giving a lot of love to you. Social mechanics as a key to the experience, in-game avatars that reflect elements of the user's platform avatar identity, and the ability to leverage metaverse items, so stuff like UGC and things like that. I think those last 3 points spell out very explicitly what Roblox wants in these projects for experiences that they want to invest in. And that is experiences which promote the idea of the metaverse, that bring real world experiences onto Roblox, that leverage different systems that they're working on. The UGC program, for one thing, which has gotten a lot more people involved nowadays into those experiences. Sort of not only tying the real world to Roblox, but also tying Roblox to Roblox in a way. Tying connections between Roblox games and the platform on with your game in general. And I think that's one of the sort of ways that you can get in on the vision of Roblox if you so wish to. And I think it's a really interesting thing. And one of the projects that I actually want to shout out in terms of this is a current work in progress project by a fellow named Scripton. And if you don't know, they're one of like the coding wizards on Roblox, and they make some amazing stuff. But his new project is an interesting case, and I think one of, if not the only game or experience, if you will, that is being worked on Roblox that really fits this. And the title of their project is Roverse, and you could imagine it as Habbo Hotel, if you ever heard of that, inside Roblox. It's a social experience that runs very well, that has a focus on mobile, that can go vertical on mobile, which you don't really see that often, that leverages UGC, that has you creating your own rooms and filling it with your own decorations and having players over and sort of chatting with them. It's this whole social experience. And I think this is one of the really big projects that really fits that bill, and I'm super excited to see how it turns out. So if you're interested, they're on Twitter. Their at is script on Roblox. Script on Roblox. I just realized if that's a, is that is that a pun? Anyways, keep an eye out on this project because I imagine and Scripton has already stated publicly that they're going for the game fund. I can't imagine this not earning that $500,000 bag, but it's going to be interesting to see how this project ultimately turns out because I am genuinely excited for this because it's nothing. Like it's unlike anything that we've seen on this platform. But that's basically it in terms of the metaverse. So Roblox is just really trying to tie in different environments together, all ending at, well, Roblox as a platform. And I think it's a really interesting direction. I can't say whether or not it's a good business decision, and admittedly, it is kind of sort of sad to see the old, simpler times, I suppose, of Roblox being shifted away from, but I do see it as a step forward, even if it is a misguided step forward. It is a step forward. It is a change from what they've done before. And I think it'll be interesting to see how it turns out and potentially how different developers are going to be using this new identity of Roblox and sort of molding their experiences around it. But that's going to be it for this episode of the Developers Exchange podcast. Thank you so much for listening in, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.